What's up? Welcome back to the Master Course on Getting Noticed and Gaining Exposure. In this last section, we're going to dive deep into contacting coaches, how you can contact them, and how they can contact you. So let's get to it. Being proactive in your recruiting process by reaching out to coaches helps you get noticed and gain exposure, especially if you go to small schools and small towns. You don't want to wait for coaches to reach out to you. You want to get your name on their recruiting board as soon as possible. So you want to text coaches, call coaches. You want to email coaches. You want to DM them on social media. Anything that you can to be proactive and reaching out to them first will give you an upper hand. Freshmen and sophomores, make sure you understand your contact periods. Coaches cannot contact you before a certain period, so you can reach out to them, but just know they won't reach back out to you. Now, you still want to reach out to them because you're going to still get your name on their recruiting board as they're building their list. So don't think that you cannot reach out to them before the contact period. When you're reaching out to these coaches, make sure you're including your athletic recruiting profile or resume, which should include your highlight tape, any sports-specific stats, your grades and your GPA, and also why you're interested in their school. You want to make sure that you're using every way possible to contact these coaches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive deep into the different ways that you can contact these coaches. Number one is social media, which I think is the best way to contact coaches. It's a great way to reach out to them and introduce yourself. You want to definitely send them your highlight tape. You want to make sure that you're following and liking their recruiting profile, recruiting coordinator, their assistant coach, and your position coach, and then their strength and conditioning coaches, and maybe even some players if you need to. That's the best way to get noticed and get your name out there. Make sure you're DMing all of those coaches on that coaching staff. Maximize your visibility to these coaches. Coaches are very active on social media, and they're always looking for new recruits across different platforms. So if you don't have a social site, create one. I recommend Twitter as the best one, but you can create Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Coaches do use those to find new talent and to communicate with recruits. Next, on social media, you want to make sure that your social media page is clean. What I mean by clean is there's no explicit content. There's no profanity being used on your page. Everything is showing good character and you have a good personality. You want to make sure that your friends and your family is not posting negative things on your page or profanity on your page, because that will affect you as well. So you want to make sure that you're retweeting or you're sharing content that shows you're interested in getting to the next level. So if you're looking at going to school for basketball, you don't want to be reposting fights or anything like that. You want to be reposting basketball workouts or basketball teams or something like that, just to show colleges or college coaches that you're interested in getting to the next level and taking that next step. So through social media, I have a great story that I shared in my free course on how to use social media to get recruited. So make sure you go download that from my website. It's free. You download it. It's a couple pages, so it only will take you about 15-20 minutes to go through it, but it's very useful information that I use to gain over 15 plus scholarship offers throughout my recruiting process. So make sure you go get that. So I just want to leave you with a script on how you can DM a coach and introduce yourself. So it should sound a little bit like this. Hey coach, congrats on your win last week against blank university. I was impressed with how your team played. My name is Lavelle McCullers. I'm a 6'3", 210 quarterback out of Havre de Grace High School. I currently have 3,000 passing yards and 25 touchdowns with a passing rating of 75%. I'm very interested in coming to your school. Below, I have included a link to my recruiting profile. Please take a look and tell me what you think. Always request feedback from a coach. That shows them that you have a student mentality and you're willing to learn and get better. So next, I want to talk about emailing college coaches. Emailing is another very effective way, but not as effective as social media. The main reason why is because coaches check their emails several times throughout the day. It's a great way to get their eyes on your highlight tape or introduce yourself. But you do need to do some things to stand out in the email because they do get thousands of emails a day. Number one, you want to make sure that you're following up on those emails. When you send them out, make sure that you are following up within 14 days. If you haven't heard back from them in the first 10 days, call them. If you haven't heard back from them in that month, maybe shoot them another email or call them as well. Number two, you want to have a catchy subject line. You need to make yourself stand out from those other emails that those coaches are looking at throughout the day. Catchy subject line would be, did you see this? Or exciting news or something like that, just to stand out above the rest. You want to make sure that they can see your email from those thousands that they are getting. Then as you email coaches, you want to make sure you're responding fast. So make sure you're checking your email daily and checking maybe 2-3 times throughout the day. Make sure you're responding fast back to those emails to show that you're interested in those schools. The next thing I want to talk about is phone calls. A well-placed phone call can be very impactful on getting your name on the coach's recruiting board. For some reason, recruits don't use this way to contact coaches as much. So it can definitely help you stand out with the coaches and building that rapport. Taking the time to personally contact the college coach is a great way to set yourself apart from your competition. You definitely want to start calling coaches after you send your introductory email. The NCAA rules state that D1 and D2 coaches aren't allowed to answer or return calls or communicate with you until June 15th after the athlete's sophomore year or September 1st of their junior year, depending on their sport. So make sure you're keeping up with the guidelines and the rules and the dates. Remember, even if a coach isn't able to call you back or contact you back, still leave that voice message because they're still building out the recruiting board for your class. So you always want to just get your name out there and make sure your name is on the top of those coaches' minds. I outlined 4 steps that you want to take when you are contacting coaches. And you want to take these 4 steps every time you're contacting coaches. So number 1, you want to send an introductory email to a coach. This is the best way to get your name introduced to a coach, and introduce yourself, attaching your highlight film. You want to highlight some stats, and you want to make sure that the subject line is catchy and it's clear. Number 2, you want to follow up with a phone call. Once the contact period starts, you want to follow up your emails with a phone call to those coaches. Number 3, respond to letters from coaches, man. Always, always, always respond to anything a coach sends you. Although most communication will be done through digital methods, coaches still send recruiting letters. So you should respond to every recruiting letter that you get. Till this day, I still have a big box of recruiting letters that my parents kept for me. So I always keep those recruiting letters just as a reminder to all the hard work I put in to get to where I'm at today. And then lastly, number 4, you want to keep in touch with those coaches and update them on your progress. So throughout your recruiting process, periodically, you want to reach back out to them, update them on some new stats. Or if you updated your highlight video, let them know that you updated your highlight video. Let them know how you did in your last game. Let them know if you're planning on visiting the school and you want to meet the coaching staff. Let them know those things. If you have a game or a competition coming up soon, invite them out to watch you play. The best way for them to evaluate you is to see you in person. Those are the 4 steps that student athletes should be using to contact coaches. Now, I want to go over ways that coaches will communicate with you. Number 1, they'll send mass emails to recruits. Coaches will send out a mass email to see which student athletes will respond. If you don't respond to these coaches, they might think that you're not interested, so you definitely want to respond. When they are sending out these mass emails, you want to make sure that you are leaving a good impression on these coaches, even if you aren't interested in that program, because these coaches do talk and they do network. Another way that coaches will contact you is through personal emails. If you are getting a personal email from a coach, that means you have passed the initial evaluation period. While this doesn't guarantee an offer, it is a great sign that a coach is interested in you. These personal emails will have their personal signature on that email, so you can differentiate a mass email from a personal email as well. So it is important, again, to check your email daily and respond to these emails as quickly as possible. In these emails, if coaches ask you questions, you want to make sure you're responding to those questions in the follow-up email that you're sending. You also want to include your upcoming schedule so that they know where your competitions or where your games are. Another way that coaches will contact you is personal letters. Just like personal emails, a personal handwritten letter is a great sign from a coach. It means you're one of their top targets. You want to definitely continue reaching out to these coaches and build a better relationship. You can either send your own handwritten letter back, which I did a few times, or you can send an email or call them on the phone thanking them for the letter and showing your interest. Coaches might call you as well. So if a coach schedules a phone call with you, they are very interested. During these conversations, coaches will build the relationship with the student athlete. So you definitely should prepare for the call. Definitely want to write down any questions you or your parents have throughout the call so that you can ask them to the coaches. You want to make sure that you are role playing or getting with somebody like myself to prepare yourself to talk with the coaches. Confidence is key. Coaches definitely like to hear confidence in their student athletes' voices. If you don't know what to say to a coach, definitely contact me and reach out to me. I provide professional role plays. I provide professional scripts. I also have different types of questions that you can ask coaches. You definitely want to contact me if you want more help on that information. Another way a coach might contact you is through camp invitation. If a coach has you on their recruiting list, they'll send out a camp invite to you. It could be personal or it could be generic depending on what type of recruit you are. These camps are key to impressing coaching staff. If you are interested in that particular school, you definitely want to talk to your parents about setting up a camp schedule to get out to that school to go compete at that camp. If you are going to that camp, you want to send that coach an email letting them know you will be attending and you look forward to meeting them in person. Now, what you want to do when you get to that camp is you want to make sure that you are competing and you want to make sure you find that coach and introduce yourself, let them know that you are there so they can watch you throughout the camp. The last way the coach might contact you is through questionnaire. This will typically be the first piece that a coach will use to reach out to you. These forms are used to build a list of recruits that they want to contact. If you're very interested in that program, fill out the questionnaire and then let the coach know that you filled it out and you are interested. Now I want to go over how you can prepare to speak with these coaches. So when you're preparing to speak with coaches, you want to gather all the necessary information you will need to communicate with them. You want to have a recruiting profile with all your information where it's kept. You also want to include a centralized link so that coaches can click it and access it. This is very important because coaches are always on the go. They don't have time to be searching different places for your information. So it makes you stand out if you make it nice and easy for them and you make it convenient for them. When you're preparing to speak with coaches, of course, it's important to find their information to contact them. You can find these coaches' information by going to the school's website, going to their athletic page, and then clicking on their staff directory. In the staff directory, it should have their email and their phone number. If you can't find it there, what you want to do is go on social media and look for that coach. Normally, it starts with the @coach last name or @coach first name, and then follow them and DM them that way. You want to be committed to this process because it definitely will take some time. It's also important to be honest with your talent level so that you know what level you're trying to contact and what your target list is going to be. But when you're talking to coaches, you want to ask 4 different types of questions. You want to ask athletic questions, academic questions, cultural questions, and financial questions. An example of an academic question could be, what are your most common majors on the team? You want to ask this academic question to see if some of those majors line up with what you're trying to do. An athletic question could be, how would you prefer me to share my updates with you? Or what are you looking for in a recruit? A cultural question might be, what is the housing situation for athletes? How diverse is the team? Of course, financial questions, more for parents, for you too, but more for parents. Do you have any scholarships available, or how much is my scholarship? Is it a full scholarship? Is it a partial scholarship? These are just some examples of questions. You can definitely make up some more and come up with your own questions, which I recommend, but those are some good questions to start with. When you're speaking with a coach, coaches will also ask you questions, so it's important to have those answers ready for those questions that the coaches are going to ask. Most of the questions is like a job interview. They want to learn more about you and your personality. Me personally, I hated talking to coaches when I first got on the phones, but I actually grew to enjoy it after practicing role plays or after talking more with those coaches. I often say practice is the best experience. So the more you practice at talking to those coaches, the more experience you get and the more comfortable and confident you are with speaking with them. Some questions coaches might ask. So they might ask how your season's going. Why do you think you can play at the next level? What are you looking for in a program? What's your GPA and test scores? What other schools or what other offers do you have? So you definitely want to be prepared to answer those questions and have those answers in your back pocket. Parents, while you and your child are going through the recruiting process, it is important, it is an imperative that you are invested in your child's future. This means supporting them to the best of your ability. This doesn't mean you should be doing the work for them. Student athletes should be contacting the coaches, not their parents. College coaches are recruiting the student athletes and they're not recruiting the parents, if you get what I'm saying. They want to talk more with the student athlete and find out more about the student athlete's personality and their character, not the parents. There is a time and place for that, and we're going to go over that as well. As you move throughout the recruiting process, all forms of communication need to be coming from the child. This will show the student athlete is responsible enough to handle their own recruiting process while also letting the coaches get to know them personally. Parents, you should always help your child if they are extremely shy or they don't know what to say. Practice with them by conducting role plays, or we also provide those role plays with my recruiting services or my mentorship program. So check those things out as well. Parents, all questions that you have should be sent through your student athlete. If you have questions about financials, the school, definitely write it down and give it to your son or daughter so that they can ask the coach and they can get that answer for you. Parents, you want to start questions when you start taking official and unofficial visits. Also, just start to come to your house. That's when you can start to ask questions as well. Parents, also at the end of the recruiting process, when you start to receive offers and things like that from schools, this is when you'll start to want to ask questions. So in my mastery course, the full mastery course, we do teach you how to negotiate those scholarship offers as well, so that you can leverage one offer against the other offer and see which schools are really, really, really interested in you. So I do want to say thank you for taking my master course on getting notice and gaining exposure, and I hope that you took some valuable information away from this course. Now, I will say this course will not work for you if you do not put it into action. So do not take this course and don't do anything with it. Make sure you're taking the information and the lessons that you learned in this course and applying it to your recruiting process and also applying it into your life so that you can become successful. If you have any other questions, please, please, please feel free to reach out to me on social media. My Instagram is _nextlavelle, so _NEXTLAVELL. That's the same for my Twitter. And my Facebook is Crossing Crown Consultant. Thank you again for taking my course, and I hope to see you guys again in the future. Until then, keep grinding, stay positive, and have faith that you can make anything come true.